I could hardly contain my excitement. In today's mail was an invitation to apply for a very prestigious position at my alma mater. The College of Medicine seeks a dynamic academic and research-driven innovative leader to serve as its next chair for the Department of Behavioral Science. We believe you possess the background, education, and experience to fill this position. Please contact us at your earliest convenience to schedule a formal interview. Dustin, my husband of 23 years, was a little late getting home, but I let it slide. He'd been so moody recently that I told him to go see a doctor. When Dustin arrived, he was quiet. I was all over him, gushing about how great I was. He was subdued and didn't really give me the congratulations I felt that I deserved. This is quite an accomplishment. I called my best friend and she made me feel wonderful. I decided to have dinner with her instead of Dustin. He wasn't around when I was ready to leave, but his car was still here, so I left him a note. I got back around 10:30 p.m. and found Dustin sitting out on the back porch. "I'm back," I announced, stepping onto the wooden deck. "So I see. Did you have fun?" Dustin's voice was flat, almost disinterested. I really didn't like the tone of his voice. "If you can call sharing exciting news with your best friend, then yes, I did. I'm changing and headed to bed. I've got a big day tomorrow. You coming?" "Not for a while," he replied, still staring out into the darkness. I don't know when Dustin came to bed, but in the morning he left before I did. A simple note was near the coffee pot. "I'll probably be an hour late getting home tonight." Selfish man. We usually catch the early movie, but now that's off the table. Looking back, I think that night was the start of our marriage drifting apart. Until he showed me the respect I deserved, we were stuck at a crossroad. Things got very chilly around the house. I was distant with him until his attitude changed. The day I accepted the university's offer, Dustin wasn't even home when I got there. He hadn't even returned my text messages for over an hour. I began to suspect he was having an affair. I still remember the text I sent him. "Got the job. Where are you? Don't you want to celebrate with me?" It wasn't the first unanswered message that week. I'd grown tired of his emotional distance. Another text an hour later. "Seriously, Dustin, I know things have been rough, but this is important to me." No response. My next faculty meeting introduced me to Harlan Stapleton, who began to show an interest in me. Or was it mutual interest? I was more than willing as he appreciated what I had accomplished. He's the dean of admissions. The first time we had coffee, Harlan listened attentively as I described my research goals. His eyes never left mine, and for the first time in months, I felt heard and valued. "Your behavioral psychology work could transform how we approach student wellness," he told me, reaching across the table to touch my hand. I'd love to discuss this further. Our coffee meetings turned into lunch dates. Lunch dates turned into something more. Professional compliments evolved into personal ones. The attention was intoxicating after months of Dustin's indifference. Today is going to be our 5th time together. This is going to be a quick meeting as Harlan has some family obligations this evening. He'd left his tie wrapped around the doorknob, just like the last few times, so I knew exactly where to go. The memories of our last meeting was still fresh on my mind. Harlan had made me feel special and desirable. He knew exactly what to say to make me feel cherished and appreciated. When I entered the surprisingly dark room, I was grabbed by a big and very strong man who quickly covered my mouth with some kind of restraint. I hardly got more than a squeak out as he moved so quickly. "Try me and you won't like the outcome. I can seriously injure you," he threatened in a hushed voice that had me frozen with terror. With his knee in my back and my face scraping the carpet floor, I didn't resist. "Now lie still," came from his husky voice. I feared for my life. Then my concern changed to wondering if he would assault me. How cynical is that? I'm meeting up with the dean of admissions for an inappropriate relationship, and I'm worried about some stranger attacking me? My panic intensified when he tore off my blouse. Seeing my assailant's gloved hands unwind the roll of duct tape, I began to hyperventilate. He attached something heavy to my back. Now he was placing a belt or something similar around my neck. Was he going to strangle me? With a clicking sound, whatever was around my neck closed tight. The man stood up, pulling me to my feet. He attached something near my lower back. "Stand still. Hold this," he commanded as he taped a small circular black disc to my hand. There was a light on the edge blinking red and a small screen with the word "offline." When one of the lights blinks green, you have a few seconds to do what the display tells you to do. If you fail to do that, you'll get this. As I felt a bolt of electricity in my neck and lower body, the gag kept me from screaming, but I tried several times. The shock made my arm hair stand up and the bottom of my feet twitch. That was very painful. That was mild. I can make it 500 times stronger. Once anyway. That would melt the device and kill you in the process. I don't want you to die or even suffer. Total embarrassment is my objective. Nod yes, if you comprehend. Like a bobblehead, I indicated my understanding. Good. Now take the rest of your clothes off and stand by the door. When I hesitated, I felt another shock wave. "Weren't you told to strip?" the voice growled. My remaining clothes quickly tumbled to the floor. I stood there wishing I had more hands and arms to cover myself. "I'll put the unit into pace mode." The little black disc blinked green and displayed "Walk in small circle." I must have done it right as it didn't shock me again. My assailant went into the bathroom and pulled a gagged and duct-taped Harlan by his beard into the bedroom area. My black disc changed to march in place. The assailant continued working on Harlan. When it came time to demonstrate the shock collar's purpose, it must not have been set to the lowest setting. Harlan tumbled to the ground and balled up into the fetal position, twitching wildly and squeaking in pain. "Get up, you coward. I can still make it 100 times worse. I'll give you 30 seconds to strip and stand next to Barbara." I felt a chill. My assailant knew my name. His wasn't a voice I recognized. My black disc changed to "twirl with hands above your head." I felt humiliated as my body was exposed. A stunned, but now undressed, Harlan joined me. My black disc changed to "stand still with hands at your side." I glanced over and Harlan's message was the same as mine. The assailant barked, "Well done, Harlan. Now, one more thing. Your devices work together. You should never come within a foot nor farther than 4 feet from each other." Tears trickled down our guilty faces. This was just supposed to be some harmless fun. Nobody was getting hurt. The assailant's last words were, "Time for you to walk back to school." Both of us whimpered. The assailant held up bumper sticker which read, "Don't touch me. My life depends on it." Peeling the back off of the warning sticker, he wrapped one around each of our foreheads. Donning his hoodie and then dark sunglasses, the man left quickly. His fleeing footsteps were soon silent. Harlan and I looked at each other knowing that our married lives were over. Then the lights on our black discs blinked green. The display led us out of the room, along the outside walkway, and then down the stairs. My purse, phone, and keys were in the room with the door still open. One step at a time, we made our way through the stairs. That terrible black disc had our hands above our heads most of the time. Cell phones were recording. I heard later that it was streaming online before the police arrived. Whoever was sending commands was a real jerk. He had us jumping, skipping, and twirling. Harlan balked once and paid the price. I stumbled and got a less than gentle reminder to stay closer to Harlan. We still had a mile until we reached the campus. My heart was breaking. This wasn't supposed to ruin my marriage. More tears streamed down my face. When a policeman approached, the black discs blared, "Stay away or die with them." Exposed pedestrians weren't exactly a threat to anyone, so he backed off. We continued our slow but steady march. Every time we strayed more than 4 feet apart, the resulting shock brought us back together quickly. Mothers covered their children's eyes. Blue-haired ladies fingered the pearls of their rosaries. Men and a few women stared openly. I heard the students taunting me. The gathering crowd had grown into the hundreds by the time the throng passed underneath the college welcome sign. "That looks like Dean Stapleton," a female voice was heard saying. The onlookers couldn't identify me at first. That changed when the little black disc had a stop and then snidely announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, may I present Harlan Stapleton, Dean of Admissions, and Barbara LeDroit, Chair for the Department of Behavioral Science." As I looked around, I noticed the president of the university shaking his head in disgust. Harlan and I were hopping, twirling, and then it stopped. The little black disc then began streaming words. From Dustin. "My unfaithful wife, it was me. I did this, but you paid for it. Sue me. My intent is to ruin your career and inflict maximum embarrassment. The day I was diagnosed with terminal cancer, you got your invitation to apply. You knew I had a doctor's appointment. Not that day, and never since. Have you bothered to ask, how are you? When you're only given a few months to live, time behind bars is no deterrent. Have me arrested. I don't care. Instead of supporting me during my final days, you were betraying our marriage vows. Your jealous, overlooked colleagues gave you up. I can't stop you from coming to my funeral. Other than that, please don't try to contact me. I've spent the last few weeks doing as much financial damage as possible. You are no longer the beneficiary on any of my policies." I dropped to my knees, sobbing. The lights on the black disc went dark after its final act, announcing, "All clear." Here I knelt, at the steps of the building I'd likely never work at again. Soon I was covered with a sheet. Explosive experts worked cautiously, but soon deemed my backpack to be nothing more than a strong battery and the electronics for the shock devices and black disc. Harlan was undergoing the same treatment. We were whisked off to the police station to be interviewed. My purse, phone, and keys were never recovered. My car was found a few days later. Changing my door locks gave me some sense of protection. The university billed me for new locks for the keys I'd lost. Without my cell, I really didn't know my friends' phone numbers. Dustin and my kids weren't answering my calls or texts. My parents, who lived 1,000 miles away, arranged for a hotel stay. It took several days to gain access to my house, get my car rekeyed, and a new cell phone. What a pain this was. As expected, Harlan and I were put on administrative leave with a hearing expedited. I was toast. The university board meeting was a formality more than anything. 12 stern faces stared at me from behind a long oak table as I sat alone in a straight-backed chair. "Dr. LeDroit," began President Carmichael, a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses, "the circumstances of your public display have created an untenable situation for this institution." "I understand," I said weakly. "Do you?" asked Dr. Ferreira, head of ethics. "Because your behavior suggests otherwise. 2 married faculty members engaged in an inappropriate relationship, exposed in the most public manner possible. The damage to our reputation is incalculable." I wanted to defend myself, to explain that I'd been punished enough. But what defense could I offer? Everything they said was true. "The board has reached a unanimous decision. We are terminating your employment, effective immediately." I nodded, numb. "May I speak?" President Carmichael nodded reluctantly. "I would like to resign instead. Please, for my future employment prospects." The board members exchanged glances. "Very well," said Carmichael. "We'll accept your resignation, but understand that any recommendations from this institution will reflect the circumstances of your departure." I left the building in a daze, wondering how my life had unraveled so completely in just a few days. Where was the accomplished academic who'd been so proud of her appointment? Where was the respected professional? All gone, replaced by a shameful spectacle that would follow me forever in the digital age. My phone rang. It was Harlan's wife. "I hope you're satisfied," she spat before I could even say hello. 26 years of marriage destroyed because you couldn't keep your hands to yourself." "I'm sorry," I whispered. but she had already hung up. The weeks that followed were a blur of shame and isolation. I holed up in my house, blinds drawn, ignoring the occasional photographer who still lingered outside hoping for a glimpse of the walking chair, as I'd been dubbed online. The videos had gone viral, of course. My children wouldn't return my calls. My colleagues avoided me. I finally managed to secure a position teaching introductory psychology at the local community college. The department chair was an old graduate school colleague who took pity on me, though he made it clear this was my last chance. "One hint of impropriety, Barbara, and you're done. Not just here, but everywhere. No one will touch you after this." I nodded gratefully. "I understand. Thank you for the opportunity." My first day back in a classroom should have been a fresh start. I'd prepared meticulously, determined to be the model of professionalism. But the whispers started the moment I entered the room. A few students snickered. One boy in the back row was wearing a t-shirt with a silhouette that was unmistakably me. I tried to ignore it, to focus on my lecture notes. "Welcome to Introduction to Psychology. I'm Dr. LeDroit and I'll be—" "We know who you are," called a voice from the back. More laughter. Someone pulled up the video on their phone. I could hear the tinny audio. "Ladies and gentlemen, may I present Harlan Stapleton, Dean of Admissions, and Barbara LeDroit, Chair for the Department of Behavioral Science." I stood frozen, my hands trembling. In that moment, I knew I couldn't do it. Not here, not anywhere that my shame had preceded me. "Class dismissed," I whispered, gathering my things. I went straight to the department chair's office and resigned on the spot. That night, I tried again to call Dustin. Again, no answer. I left a message, my voice breaking. "Dustin, please. I know what I did was unforgivable. I know you're sick. Please, just let me see you. Let me help you through this. Whatever time you have left." No response. I tried my daughter next. Voicemail again. "Jessica, honey, it's Mom. I know you're angry and you have every right to be, but your father is dying. Please, don't shut me out. I need to see him. I need to make amends somehow. Please call me back." She didn't. My son's response was even more brutal. He actually picked up only to say, "You embarrassed all of us. Dad is with family now. Real family. Don't call again," before hanging up. I sat in my empty house, surrounded by photographs of a life that no longer existed. 23 years of marriage, 2 children, 3 grandchildren I might never see again. All sacrificed for what? A few moments of attention from a man whose name was now linked with mine in infamy? The loneliness was crushing. I contemplated ending it all. What did I have left? No career, no family, no dignity. With shaking hands, I looked up the suicide prevention hotline and dialed. "Hello," said a calm, steady voice. "You've reached the suicide prevention hotline. My name is Rachel. May I ask who I'm speaking with?" "Barbara," I whispered. "My name is Barbara, and I've lost everything." The next morning, a small miracle occurred. My daughter called. "Mom?" Jessica's voice was cold, but she'd called. That was something. "Jessica, thank you for calling back. I'm not calling to reconcile," she said firmly. "I'm calling because Dad is in hospice now. The doctors say it's a matter of days, maybe a week. I thought you should know." My heart sank. "Where? Please, tell me where." A long pause. "Woodside Hospice on Maple Street." "But Mom, he doesn't want to see you. He was very clear about that." "I understand," I said, though it felt like another knife to my heart. "Thank you for telling me." After we hung up, I sat motionless for almost an hour. Then I drove to Woodside Hospice. The nurse at the front desk was sympathetic but firm. "I'm sorry, but Mr. LeDroit has a list of approved visitors, and you're not on it. In fact, there's a specific note that you are not to be admitted under any circumstances." "Could you at least give him a note?" I pleaded. She hesitated, then nodded. "I can try, but I can't promise he'll read it." I poured my heart onto that small notepad. Dustin, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. What I did was unforgivable. But please know that I did love you. I still love you. I was selfish and blind. I didn't see what was happening to you because I was too focused on myself. I'm so sorry. Whatever time you have left, I want to spend it making amends. Please let me see you. Let me say goodbye. All my love, Barbara. The nurse took the note and disappeared down the hallway. 10 minutes later, she returned, her expression saying everything before she spoke. I'm sorry. He wouldn't read it. I nodded, tears streaming down my face, and left without another word. For the next 5 days, I returned every morning. Each time, the answer was the same. On the 6th day, I arrived to find Jessica and my son Michael in the lobby, their eyes red from crying. He's gone, Jessica said simply. He passed an hour ago. I felt my knees give way. Michael, despite his anger, caught me before I fell. The funeral is Wednesday, he said stiffly. Dad said you could attend, but asked that you stay in the back and not approach the family. I nodded, unable to speak through my tears. He left this for you, Jessica added, handing me an envelope. We haven't read it. Inside was a short note in Dustin's familiar handwriting, now shaky from illness. Barbara, I forgive you. Not for your sake, but for mine. I don't want to die with hatred in my heart. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. You made your choice. Live with it, as I have had to. Goodbye. Dustin. Those 5 words, I forgive you, not for you, would haunt me forever. The funeral was a blur. True to my word, I stayed in the back, watching from a distance as my children and grandchildren mourned the man I had betrayed. Afterward, I returned to my empty house and the crushing silence of my new reality. Weeks passed, then months. I applied for teaching positions across the country, but the videos followed me everywhere. Background checks revealed my disgrace. I was unhireable. Eventually, I remembered Rachel from the suicide prevention hotline and the comfort her voice had brought me in my darkest moment. On impulse, I called the organization and asked about volunteer opportunities. We're always looking for volunteers, said the coordinator, but it's difficult work. May I ask why you're interested? Because I know what it's like to want to end it all, I said honestly. And I know what it's like to be pulled back from that edge by a kind voice. I'd like to be that voice for someone else. She invited me in for an interview and training. To my surprise, my background in behavioral science was seen as an asset, not a liability. Here, my professional disgrace didn't matter as much as my human experience. 6 months after Dustin's death, I was working the overnight shift at the suicide prevention hotline. My first caller was a young woman who had cheated on her husband and was contemplating suicide after he discovered her betrayal. I've ruined everything, she sobbed. He'll never forgive me. I can't live with what I've done. I understand, I said, and for the first time since my public humiliation, I felt a sense of purpose. I truly do. Let me tell you my story. And I did. All of it. The selfishness, the affair, the public humiliation, the loss of my husband, my family, my career, and most importantly, how I survived it all. The pain doesn't go away, I told her honestly, but you learn to carry it, and maybe someday you find a way to use it to help others. By the end of our conversation, she had agreed to seek professional help instead of ending her life. As I hung up, I realized something profound. My greatest failure had become my most powerful tool for connection. 5 years have passed since my walk of shame. I never returned to academia. Instead, I now serve as the director of the Suicide Prevention Center, using my background in behavioral science to train volunteers and develop outreach programs. My relationship with my children has thawed slightly. Jessica brings my grandchildren to visit twice a year. Michael still keeps his distance, But he sends a card at Christmas. It's something. Harlan Stapleton moved across the country. I heard he's teaching high school science now. His wife divorced him, of course. We never spoke again after that day. The videos still surface occasionally. Students at the university still tell the story of the naked professors. But the shame has dulled over time, replaced by a kind of acceptance. Every morning, I look in the mirror and remind myself of the lessons I've learned. Arrogance and entitlement are toxic in a relationship. I falsely believed I was immune to acting that way. Behavioral science is what I taught, but wasn't what I practiced in time anyway. And every night before I sleep, I whisper an apology to Dustin. Not because I think he can hear me, but because I need to say it. I need to remember. Sometimes in my dreams, he answers back, "I forgive you, not for you, but for me." It's not much, but it's enough to help me face another day, to pick up another call, to guide another lost soul back from the edge. It's enough to keep living with the consequences of my choices. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.